straight up just not pressing the button and realizing that we weren't recording.
Has not happened in a while. So hello and welcome to our listeners.
Yes.
This is take 2 of this story that we will be reading for you today.
So had some practice. Hello, I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
This is an unusual situation in which we've... Hey, no, turn it around. We've actually done prep on this one now.
Oh, true, yes.
Normally we come into these stories, completely innocent and wet behind the ears.
Absolutely, but now we have already read it. We know where it's going. So let's see if that improves our performance or if it...
Let's say that it does. I mean, they don't know what the original sounded like.
Well, that's very good. Yeah, very
Neither
true.
do we, for that matter.
So today we are reading Ta'ana Takes Command by Wooster.
Yes, in which the USS Cerritos is under fire with Captain Freeman and Commander Ransom out of commission. That leaves Dr. Ta'ana in command of the California-class ship, even if she has other things to do.
Notes, this fic was written 1 month before Lower Decks aired its first episode, so apologies in advance for any inconsistencies with the final product.
No apologies necessary or desired, Wooster.
Absolutely. I'm amazed that you could just go ahead and write a story like this based on presumably only the trailers which have been out.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many trailers were put out at this point, but yeah, I mean, they must have had at least general knowledge of the cast and a little bit of what's going on. And I think this is
I am under attack currently. Red alert, because our little pod kitty has decided that it is playtime.
Maybe that was a lesson which need to be learned again. Or taught again. Whether it's going to be learned or not is going to be an entirely different matter.
And for those concerned with the pod kitty's well-being, we will absolutely be spending some playtime with her later on, because she is still a young cat and playing is totally part of her life.
Yeah, about 18 months at this point. So, Ta'ana Takes Command by Wooster.
Now, I immediately have some questions about this this setup, because you'd think that if a medical officer has the authority, as Dr. Crusher has used several times, to relieve the captain of command, and I think anyone else, based on medical incompetence, they should be excluded from the chain of command, right?
Yeah, that makes sense too, because then they would be able to fire people until they...
You're incompetent, and you're incompetent, and you're incompetent, and now you're all listening to me!
Presumably at that point, the first medical officer takes on that responsibility.
Okay, that's definitely how it works on a Klingon ship.
Yeah.
Because they have scalpels lying around at that point.
Fair point, and they would be out at this point.
Uh-huh.
I just can imagine a very cute little battle-shaped scalpel that Klingon doctors will use. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe they've got those dual-pronged little scalpels and stuff, because that's just the way how they understand that knives are made. So.
Okay, so you think that they've taken a scalpel and they've added the extending ductile little sticks on the side?
Absolutely.
Hey, it might be very useful.
Who knows? So,
all right. Do you want to do the opening sound effects?
Oh yes, let's do the opening sound effects. Which one? Oh, we start with our own, and then we start with the show. Red alert! Shouted Captain Carol Freeman. All hands, prepare for...
Ooh, the USS Cerritos lurched violently under the volley of their assailant.
Figures, muttered Mariner under breath, as her hands danced on the ship's comm panel, pulling the Cerritos out of the most immediate danger. The one time we make first contact and Commander Libido has to hit on the delegate's daughter.
Lieutenant Shax, fire their weapon systems. Target their weapon systems. Fire on my command, ordered Freeman.
Target locked, reported the burly Borjoran.
Oh, shit, swore Mariner, looking at her console. It reported that there was another sharp build-up of energy in the enemy ship's forward weapon. Mariner slapped her hand on the maneuvering thrusters and the Cerritos nosedived.
All hands, brace for impact, shouted Freeman.
Dive, dive, yelled the captain through the thing, and they did dove.
I think you're off script there.
And what's that from, Kay?
Oh, you told me.
Yeah, I made the same joke in the previous take. This is like, oh,
it was some masterclass or something or the other.
Yes, it was a writing class where the comment for this student who was reading her piece about some submarine action. Yeah, well, if you want to write about submarines, then it helps to know what the things are called. Like that is
right.
And what's a periscope. Anyway, that was from Throw Mama Off the Train. But it just made me thought that this experience that we're having right now is like cause and effect. It's like we're doing our own time loop episode, Kay.
We are doing our own time loop episode.
And we're learning things from every loop.
And we might not know how many times we've already done this.
Oh, my God. At least we're in good company. Despite Mariner's best efforts, the Cerritos did not evade in time. The ship rocked hard. Consoles exploded. Ensign Brad Boimler, who was stationed at the ever-important environmental station, was flown from his post over the security console. Most of the bridge crew was knocked off their feet.
Shax pulled himself up. Wow. That's a bit of a slip up there.
Now's not the time, Commander.
Everyone good.
But impressive range.
He then notes Captain Freeman, by the prophets.
Captain Freeman had a chunk of bulkhead lodged in her chest. The one blessing was that she was unconscious and thus unable to experience the full extent of the pain she must be in.
Someone tapped their con badge. Bridge to sickbay, medical emergency.
Moments later, Dr. Ta'ana marched out of the turbo lift with Tendi in tow. The chief medical officer wasted no time in working to stabilize her while Tendi read her tricorder.
Her left lung is punctured, 4 broken ribs. Left gastral artery is ruptured, but she's still alive, reported Tendi.
That's your Tendi?
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, sorry,
I like it.
Sorry, I thought that was... No, sorry.
No, I know.
I thought I got Ta'ana there. No, my Tendi is... left lung is punctured, 4 broken ribs. Left gastral artery is ruptured, but she's still alive, reported Tendi.
I'm so disappointed. I thought we were going to do a switcheroo.
That would be too confusing.
Barely, muttered Ta'ana. We need to get her into surgery.
Right, replied Tendi. Should I grab her by the arms, or...
Actually, interrupted Boimler, as ranking officer, your place is on the bridge. He beamed.
The Caton stared, unblinking at Brat. What? She said flatly.
Mariner couldn't help roll her eyes. She liked Brad as a friend, she really did, but that boy had 0 sense for knowing when action was needed and when to cite regulations. She plotted a course to where, she hoped at least, the enemy weapon's blind spot was.
By Jove, he's right, added the chief of security. With both the captain and first officer out of commission, you're our next in command, he said, as he pointed to Ta'ana's pips indicating the rank of commander.
Yeah, so it kind of doesn't have to... But the biggest thing is, he said by Jove, not by the prophets.
Yes.
So do you think they also have a... Because that is Jupiter, right?
Yes.
Jove?
Yeah.
So do they have their own gas giant? I
assume it's Jove, because, also, it's... Yeah, by Jove, it sounds like something out of Asterix and Obelix. Or it could also be by Jehovah, that's...
Yes, but in the Jewish tradition, that's rude to say.
Right, yes.
So then it would make a good square.
Jove would be Jupiter, yes.
Yes, because the planets beyond Jupiter in our solar system are trans-Jovians.
Yes.
And it has like 600 Jovian moons.
Oh, I heard that Saturn has even more. They did a new survey and it's got more moons now than the rest of the solar system combined.
Oh, maybe that's the one I'm thinking
something
of.
like 256.
Wow.
Which they have to now start relaxing on the naming convention because there's not enough...
there's not enough gods in the pantheon. There's not enough
deities in that particular pantheon that they were naming them from.
Oh, wow. Oh, wasn't the case that Jupiter's moons were all named after various lovers and children and out-of-wedlock things?
Yep.
And then NASA sent a probe, or ESA did? Juno, named after his wife.
So they sent Jupiter's wife to check up on him.
On her slut husband and what he's getting up with all of his floozies.
Exactly. And they say they don't have any humor at NASA.
The doctor looked at the captain's chair with dispassion, then glanced back at the suffering form of Captain Freeman with slightly less dispassion. We're wounded. I couldn't possibly leave my current duties to...
It's okay. I've got this, Tendi said with a forced smile as she finished carefully dragging the captain into the turbo lift.
The CMO didn't bother to hide an aggravated hiss. Thank you. As she watched the Orion disappear behind the turbo lift doors, she nonetheless sat down in the captain's chair begrudgingly.
Your orders, Dr. Ta'ana, said Shax.
Attack pattern Delta, asked Dr. Ta'ana. It sounded like something she was supposed to say in this situation.
Mariner cursed under her breath. She didn't exactly know how they were going to get out of this mess, but attack pattern Delta lay firmly in the bad idea category. Unfortunately, as it involved coordinating with tactical, she couldn't override her orders with another one of her own maneuvers. Aye, attack pattern Delta, she confirmed.
It wasn't 3 seconds before the ship was struck again.
Shields down at 47%, reported the Trillet Ops. Citation Ops reports a rupture on Deck 5, and now all of Deck 6 is submerged.
Yikes. That sounds like a scuba emergency. You've got those as well.
Yes.
Say to what now? Asked Dr. Ta'ana.
Dr. Ta'ana, I recommend we eject the warp core, said Shax.
Yes, do the...
I say we eject the warp core!
Amazing that Wooster already sort of had the idea that this is something that...
Yes. Maybe it wasn't already in the trailer?
Or it's a glorious coincidence.
That would be fantastic.
Or even his obsession was sort of retroactively construed from this.
Oh, that's possible, but very unlikely.
I know, but they were very sort of fan engaged, those lower decks writers.
Yeah. But having to insert that a month before the end, that sounds unlikely.
Yeah, I know. It's really obscure. Yeah, whatever. Do it, replied Ta'ana as she flung her hands out in the air in equal parts indifference and defeat. She really got Ta'ana down pat. I keep assuming the gender. I don't know why. Wooster really got the...
I mean, Wooster is like, the titular Wooster. Like, I mean, assume it's from reference to Jeeves and Wooster.
Oh, that's possible.
Where it was definitely, well, anyway.
A dandy, a fop.
Yes, a wastrel, I believe the word is that you're looking for.
Anyway, much respect to Wooster. Thank you very much. For getting Ta'ana so right, flinging her arms out, equal parts indifference and defeat. She was a doctor, not a warrior.
Manner's jaw dropped. She spun her chair around. No, wait, you can't do...
Too late, cords ejected, said the self-righteous security chief.
The Cerritos lurched again. Not from another hit from the enemy weapon, but rather the concussive shockwave from the core erupting after being hit by a photon torpedo. Systems went offline, lights flickered, and Boimler went flying again.
Yeah!
He hit the comm station and left a sizable crack on the display when his head met the panel.
Shields are offline, shouted the distressed Trill at Ops.
Oh, God, this is how I'm going to die, muttered Mariner as she planted her face in her palms.
Dr. Ta'ana ignored the chaos and travelled to where Boimler lay. He's got a concussion, she stated after looking him over.
Here, let me help you with that, said Mariner as she slid back her console. Technically, she shouldn't abandon her post like that, but Helmet just got offline anyway.
An idea came to her. It was wild and had a million very obvious ways it could fail. But if the command crew was as oblivious of the lower decks as she suspected...
Dr. Ta'ana, you've got something on your neck here, said Mariner as she undid one of the Caton's command pips and attached it to her lapel.
Dr. Ta'ana opened her mouth, only to shut it again, as she watched Mariner swipe Boimler's pip and add it as well. She looked at Mariner's makeshift rank, then to Boimler, then to the turbo lift.
I should have you written up, hissed Ta'ana just out of earshot of the rest of the bridge queue. It wasn't difficult. Between Shack shouting and Rutherford trying, and failing, to turn to out-of-fire on the back consoles, there was plenty of foreground noise.
Go right ahead, replied Mariner. But that'll cost you your one chance to get back to sickbay.
The doctor growled. Literally, she growled. And for the briefest of moments, Mariner thought the only thing preventing her from having her eyes clawed out was the Hippocratic Oath.
But instead, the Cation gutturally cleared the throat. Mariner was half convinced she was going to hack up a furball in the process. I'm needed in sickbay.
But, Doctor, started Shax.
But Doctor is probably what he calls her in bed. No but Doctor, snapped Ta'ana. I'm...
Not a proctologist.
She hesitated, preemptively hating the words that were about to come out of her mouth. I'm deferring command to Commander...
Oh, Mariner hadn't quite thought this far ahead. Riker, settled the ensign. Commander Beckett Riker.
Shax squinted his eyes. Commander Riker? As in the Enterprise's former Commander Riker?
Mariner puffed out her chest. He's a distant relative.
So even though Wooster hadn't seen the episode yet, already inferring that Mariner was the relative of a command officer.
Yes. Ooh. Wow. Yeah.
The security... I appreciate you trying to fake being amazed by my realization a second time as we're going through our time loop again. Thank you.
One can only try.
The security chief studied Mariner and her 3 golden pips. He looked about to say or ask something when the ship rocked again.
Hull breach, shouted the Trills officer. Starboard nacelle is venting plasma.
Not waiting for Shax to start his interrogation, she marched over to the captain's chair. Get repair crews on it. Rutherford, put down that extinguisher and get on the con. Lieutenant Shax, when the aperture on that weapon opens, I need a photon torpedo there to greet it. Can you do that?
Aye, sir.
Once the dust settled, there was only the slimmest of chances that Mariner wasn't going to get fired for this. She only hoped she would get to see Boimler's face when he learned that she got to command the Cerritos long before he did.
Excellent story.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Thank you so much, Wooster, for that.
That was a lot of fun. In fact, it was more fun the second time around.
So, final notes from the author. I wrote this ficlet after thinking about those scant few episodes where Dr. Crusher got to command the Enterprise D, and how Dr. Ta'ana looked like the last thing she wants to do is take command, and figured that would absolutely be the sort of nonsense we could expect to see on this show. So, yes, very, what call it again?
Prescient?
Prescient, yes.
Yeah.
About the direction that the show was going to take things. Kudos. It was a fun story.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I did wind up doing Dr. Anna as more of a Taz, the Tasmanian Devil.
Right. I mean, that's kind of fitting.
It is kind of.
It is. She is a bit of a furry blender,
So next week we're recapping another episode of Star Trek, where the Chief will tell you about over the end credits. And after that, we've got another story reading.
Yes, the story is Not Ready by TFA Loki writer.
In which Q... I just immediately, I'm gonna love this. We're gonna have to arm wrestle over who gets to do John Delancey.
Oh wow, yes.
Q fights for Picard not to be forcibly ascended by doing it the best way that he knows.
Well, that could be. Well, I mean that.
Time to speculate.
Yes, well, it just means he's going to be badgering people and bullying them and trying to coax and coerce them into doing what he wants them to.
But
I think we're going to have another argument about Q's motives. And,
oh, very possible. Yeah. We don't know what TFA Loki writer is going to land on. My big question is whether he's playing the trumpet wearing a sombrero and a snappy serape. We're three happy chappies and snappy serapes. You'll find us beneath our sombreros.
Very good. Right. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to hear from you next week.
Much love. One more thing to do.
The hell is this?
I'm leaving Starfleet.
Energize!
Now it's recording this time. Please double check. Please
Yes,
make sure
is.
that nothing happens to it.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode with friends Kay and Kaki, production and editing by our chief engineer Greg, and music by Fox Amore. Join us next week for Relics, TNG 604, followed by Not Ready, the fan fiction reading. Visit joyoftrek.com/links to send us recommendations, support us on Patreon, or to find us on Blue Sky. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to Joy of Trek, and we'll see you out there.